It's 10 o'clock. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming today for our candidates forum. As you are well aware, we are having a special election because one of the board members is leaving SaddleBrooke. My name is Bill Eineker, and myself, along with Ray Arve and Roger Sweat, make up the election committee. And so we want to again welcome all of you. We're fortunate that two of our residents have come forward to run for this open position, which goes until 12/31/23. They are Campbell, Chaney, who's joining us via Zoom.
Well, he was.
He was.
I can hear you.
There he is. There you go. Okay, and Terry Marchione. Both have strong resumes, and each will have 5 minutes to discuss their background and why they are running for the board. So, and then after that, we'll open it up for resident questions. So without further ado, I'll introduce Terry, and go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for coming. 5 minutes isn't much time, so I'm going to get through my part here as quickly as I can as far as my background goes. I moved here 6 years ago next week with my wife Sharon, who's here with me. We have 2 adult children. One lives in California, one lives in SaddleBrooke Ranch. So as far as my experience goes, when I started out in business, I worked for 2 different marketing consulting firms. And I followed that with 2 stints in the corporate world. I worked at Sandoz Pharmaceuticals and Warner Lambert back in New Jersey. And I was offered a job out on the West Coast as marketing research director for Crown Zellerback. Crown Zellerback at that time was going through sort of a breakup of their divisions. So you can see the handwriting on the wall. Crown Zellerback doesn't really exist as such today. So I started my own company, and I started with myself and a part-time secretary. We grew that business into a multi-million-dollar business. Got over 75 employees. We worked for a lot of the major companies such as Safeway, Adolph Coors, Levi Strauss, Chevron, etc. We also did a little bit of work in the political polling business, but not too much of that. As far as my experience goes, as it relates to an HOA or other organizations, I served on the board of directors of the San Francisco American Marketing Association, also on the board of directors of Sacramento Valley Marketing Association. I served 3 years on the board of the Contra Costa Country Club, including 1 year as president. We had about 500 members there. I also served on the board and was president of an organization called Sons in Retirement in California. That's about a 400-person organization. At SaddleBrooke, when I first got here, I joined up with what was then called the Marketing Communications Committee. That lasted about a year. It was disbanded because they hired a staff person to do marketing. And there also wasn't really a clear charter for that group, and it outlived its usefulness, as it were. I served on the golf committee for 3 years. 2 years of that I was chairman of the golf committee, and this was right after transition, so it was, we had a lot of things going on. We actually were able to give some credibility to the golf committee, and we worked closely with staff and some with the board. We didn't accomplish everything we wanted to, but we did make a lot of headway. While I've been here, I lost track, but I've attended at least 75 or 80% of all the board meetings, all the board working sessions, the board coffees. When I was a committee chairman, I went to all the committee chair meetings, which are held once a month. So I don't claim to be an expert on everything that's going on here, but have a pretty good working knowledge of how things happen here. Why am I running for the board? There's several reasons. I mean, this came up sort of unexpectedly after the resignation of one of the board members. And I've thought in the past about running for the board. Anyways, I'm getting 1 minute warning, so I'll be brief. I'm a fiscal conservative. I believe in the basic tenet of business is revenues have to exceed or match expenses. It's a simple formula. And the problem in SaddleBrooke is that we don't have a lot of ways to increase revenue because there's dues and assessments, pretty much. I mean, there's a couple other things. Nobody likes assessments. We all understand that dues are going to go up, but we want to make sure they go up to fund things that we need. Not things that we want, but things that we need. And I think my objective is to take a close look at how we spend our money. And I have certain things that I don't like about how it's been done or proposed being done. And I plan to carry through with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Campbell, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, and I want to thank the Elections Committee for allowing me to zoom in with this forum. I'm sitting here in Newport Beach, California, and I couldn't really make it back in time with the obligations that I have here. So I do thank the committee for that. As far as me, I moved to SaddleBrooke in 2021, so I'm a relatively new resident. After spending 35 years in the San Francisco Bay Area, particularly for those who know the geography, the East Bay region of the Bay Area. I moved to the Bay Area after graduate school, where I earned my master's in business administration with a specialty in international finance in 1984. I also earned a designation as a chartered financial analyst, or CFA as is commonly known. For those who don't know what that is, that's similar in some respects to a CPA, but for professional investment managers. I spent most of my career doing finance, Wall Street finance, if you want to call it that. The first half, investment research, researching banks, savings and loans, insurance companies, real estate companies, consumer finance companies, and made recommendations to our clients on which stocks to buy, which stocks to sell. The second half of my career, I was involved with hedge funds and private equity. For those who don't really know what hedge funds are, those are investment funds, mostly for wealthy individuals or institutions, and the focus is very short-term oriented, quarter to quarter, month to month, very short-term. Private equity is a little bit different. You're investing for a 10-year time horizon. So my skills kind of were both in the short term, what can you do for me today? And the long term, what can you do for me in 5 to 10 years? As far as the skill levels of what I attained in my career, I have a deep skills in financial analysis, all sorts of financial statement analysis, balance sheets, income statements, cash flow analysis, things like that. Plus, I also had to assess management. Were these managers that I was looking to invest our clients' money into basically doing what they say they're going to do? Are their transactions useful? Are the transactions common sense? Can they make the transactions at all? So they did a lot of forecasting, a lot of assessments on management to assess whether it was worth putting our clients' money into. Also, we had to do economic and market analysis. Where were the markets going? What is the economy doing? That all impacts investments, and since we probably all have some kind of investment dollars, we paid close attention to that. But by and large, boiling it all down, what I did was assess risk versus return. That's really it. That's all I did. And after 35 years of doing that, or 30 years on Wall Street, 5 years in the public sector, we closed down our investment fund on its 25th anniversary just because this was in early 2020, right before the pandemic hit, because we wanted, basically, we were in our 60s and didn't want to work 80-hour work weeks anymore. So we decided to close the fund down, which we did at the end of 2020. I moved, shortly thereafter to SaddleBrooke, which what we discovered, my wife and I, Teresa, we discovered, a beautiful place, lots of green space, golf course, natural landscape, of course, the Catalina Mountains. And so we bought here and love the views, love the community, love the friendliness of it. But when you look underneath the surface, what you do have is a 25-year-old community. And with a 25-year-old community, you have a lot of amenities that are getting past their useful life and have to be upgraded or replaced, like any other kind of thing that's that old. And then also coupled with that, needs of the replacement of like irrigation on the golf course, which we talked about or heard about before. The cost of energy is going up. The cost of heating the pool. The cost of heating the pool is up quite a bit. So what I want to do, and I've been on the golf committee for about 6 months, being relatively new, and I've also just joined the finance committee. What I thought when this opportunity came up was I can combine those two together, and then I can really, on the board, dig into the numbers, help steer what I think is going to be kind of a very interesting few years with these infrastructure upgrades going on, digging into the numbers, making sure that the financial management of these projects are going to be fiscally conservative and fiscally efficient as well. So I think what it boils down to between Terry and myself is basically you have someone with a background in finance and someone with a background in marketing. So to me, it seems like kind of an easy choice to make to those who are voting for the next board seat. And with that, I'll turn it back to the committee.
Thank you very much, Campbell. All right, so now we're going to open it up for resident questions. If you have a question, you must go to the microphone because that's the only way Campbell can hear the question. The other requirement is that you can ask one question, and we'll rotate between Terry and Campbell, who's first. If there's a line behind you, you'll have to go to the end of the line to ask further questions. And so who'd like to step to the microphone first? Come on, I can't believe all these people. Here we go. Somebody's not shy.
My name is all right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. My name is Doug Bolton. I'm in Unit 49, Lot 145. And I guess I have a question for both of you.
Terry will be the first, then Campbell.
Okay. And the question is, my wife and I have been here for about 12 years. And when we first moved here, the ropes and sales agent said, oh, you don't have to worry about dues. They won't be going up. Okay. We moved in 2010, and all we've seen is our dues going up every year. Now, on top of that, we have significant inflation now. We have a lot of projects going on that are going to require a lot of money. Golf course, roads, probably lots of other things too that will require a lot of money. And my question to both of you is, number one, would you be willing to take a strong financial leadership role if you were elected to the board? And if so, what are some of the things you might be able to do to, let's say, rein in the cost and keep our HOA dues from going up significantly every year? Thank you.
Terry, you're first.
I'm first. Well, I mean, with the situation as it is today, in terms of the economy and so forth, I mean, the dues are going to go up, all things being equal. I mean, that's the realistic view of it. We don't all like that, and I'm not on the board, so I don't know what the discussions have been about next year. But I'll be very surprised if we don't have a dues increase. As far as expenses go, yeah, there's things, again, as I said before, we need to separate what we need from what we want. And as an example, let's take the MountainView golf course project, which came in way over the estimate to start with, but it's up around $6 million. So there's things in there that we don't need to do. They'd be nice to do. I play golf. Golfers are interested in three things. They want grass on the fairways so you can hit the ball. They want sand in the bunkers. And they want greens that you can putt on. So whether we're gonna move bunker from here to there, or take this one out and put this one in, and there's a lot of that in the proposal. Whether we want to build a cart path from number 9 Green at Mountain View to number 10 T-Box for $200,000, I don't think so. We don't need it. And I only have a bit of time here. I could explain more about that, but those are the kind of things that I'd be looking at. And I believe there's quite a few of those.
Thank you. Campbell, you're up.
Yeah, there are several ways you can get these projects done. The 3 off the top of my head, you can use the reserve fund as is and deplete it. You can finance it through borrowings. And remember that the HOA has little or no debt. So you can use debt. You can do assessments. You can do fee, dues increases. There's a way to do it. There's a combination of all the above. I think the questioner hit the nail on the head. Costs are going up everywhere. Inflation is running 8%, probably going higher than that over time. Energy costs are up, electricity costs are up. So to answer your question, how do we keep dues from going up too much is the reason I'm running for the board. I don't want dues to increase. I know they're going to increase, as Terry said. I think that's a given. I think everybody realizes that when they go to the gas station or the grocery store. The question is, how much are they going to go up in getting for what Terry said, what you want and what you need? You can go the other way too, and you can cut expenses. And cutting expenses means cutting amenities. It means cutting services. It means cutting things like that. So, yeah, we got to be efficient. Again, why I'm running for the board. Yeah, this is what I did for 35 years. I assess businesses. I assess managements. I assess what is needed for a business to grow and how to do it efficiently. So, but to answer your question, it's basically fees, assessments, borrowings, or just depleting your reserve fund.
Thank you. Any other questions here this morning?
Hi, my name is Denny Steen with Lot 57, Unit 44A. I have a question for both candidates. What are your feelings concerning the possible merger between HOA 2 and HOA 1? I know it's a controversial issue. I'd just like to get your views on that. Thank you.
Campbell, you're up first.
I've read some of the editorials that have been put in the SaddleBrooke publications. Being new to the community, I don't have a lot of sway one way or another. I do know that SaddleBrooke 1 is private. SaddleBrooke 2 is public. I know the board of both companies, both HOAs, gave a response. And the response, I think, we're responsible. There's legal issues. There's ropes and issues. There's other issues that make it very, very difficult for the merger to happen without a very long, arduous process with a lot of legal dollars spent to do it. I guess from my standpoint, the reciprocal agreement is in place. People who live in HOA 1 can enjoy reciprocal amenities in HOA 2 and vice versa. So, I think longer term, it's something I would have to study. But for right now, I would say it's a nice idea, but it's just kind of an idea. I don't see where these editorials that came out gave any particulars about the very tough details that have to be ironed out between the two organizations. And then you got ropes on top of that.
Terry, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Well, as a basic concept, I certainly support the two HOAs merging. However, realistically, that's not going to happen in the near future because there are many obstacles to overcome, and I don't think they've even scratched the surface yet of studying these things. The HOA 1 board has so far shown almost no interest in pursuing this, even as an exploratory item. There are things, however, we can do short of a merger. I mean, we already are cooperating in certain ways. There's some committees meet jointly, but there are a lot of things that can still be done. And it's for example, the marketing effort. If you see some of the things that HOA 2 puts out, it's marketed as HOA 2. Well, potential residents they don't know the difference between the two, and and then the preserve has sort of their own. We need a better united effort. So to summarize, yes, I would support it. I do support it, but we got a lot of questions to answer before it's going to happen.
Next question.
My name's Jerry Hack, Unit 36. I have a question for both candidates regarding the common area maintenance. I happen to live right on the golf course, and the common area maintenance has been 0 to totally inadequate. And I wonder what your positions are as far as improving these areas. Once you bought the golf course, you added a whole bunch of common area. Some of it's designated common area, some of it's designated something else. And I don't think there's a plan to deal with it.
Terry.
Well, I'm not totally familiar with how the current situation came to be. But when Robson was in charge, the maintenance people took care of the common areas. And when Damon Williams, I think, spearheaded this idea that they turn it over to the homeowners, sort of to deflect the expense. The HOA wouldn't have to pay. You'd have to get your own landscaper to do whatever you want done, as long as it conformed to what they saw as the rules. I mean, certain plants, certain weeds that you can take out, certain ones you can't. I don't know what the ultimate solution to that, but right now that's how it is. It would take, and I think financially now is not the time that it's gonna go revert back to the days when Robson was doing it. It's just the way it is now.
Campbell, you're up.
Yeah, got thoughts on this too. I live on a golf course, so I know about the common area between the golf course, cart path, and the properties. And just re-engaging in golf after not playing golf for many, many years, just playing the MountainView course. You know, those who look out over the natural landscape knows that it's somewhat overgrown and unsightly. So I would be a big advocate for getting better aesthetics for those outsiders playing golf, which I do believe we need. We need outside revenue to play golf, which would keep our dues, in check, if you will. But playing the golf course and looking out over a lot of dead trees and a lot of just landscape that I think is quite unsightly is something I would be certainly advocating for. How to do that, whether it's the common area budget or whether it's something else or whether it's, capital rating, I don't know, but certainly I think that's an issue for me, at least personally, as well as I think for the community at large.
Any other questions? Quiet group. Oh, here we go.
One more thing.
And, close to the microphone, please.
Okay, one more thing. For each candidate, do you think there should be any differences in appropriation of funds between the preserve and the rest of the HOA2 vis-a-vis SaddleBrooke? And if so, what would be your reasons for that?
Campbell, you're first on that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question about appropriations, separate appropriations for the preserve. I kind of view the whole community as the whole community. So I don't want to sit there and carve out special appropriations for one part of the community versus the other, because if that starts, then you can see a slippery slope where other people and other units want special, carve outs as well. So I look at everything as just one community. Now there is a process which is going on right now where you can put in special requests for budget items. Finance committee will be going through that next week or next couple of weeks. So there are avenues in place where you can advocate for special projects for if you want the preserve or anything for that matter.
Could you repeat the question? I didn't quite understand the question.
The question is, with the upcoming budgets for HOA2, vis-a-vis the preserve and the remaining portions of SaddleBrooke, for example, the preserve is the newest of the ropes and developments within HOA2. Now, they have certain needs, perhaps that are different from the rest of the needs of SaddleBrooke that have already been developed. For example, let's talk about the preserve restaurant. Let's talk about the MountainView Bar and Grill. I think if you were to patronize both of these places, you will see that there seems to be a little difference in what is offered to the patron. And since we are open to for public patronization, then I think there should be perhaps a little bit of differences in what is offered by each restaurant. And I'm not going to want to get into the weeds on this, but I think if you're going to charge differences in the same entree, for example, then I think the wines might be a little bit different to go along with a higher expensive entree in one venue as opposed to another. So that was just something that I wanted to ask you and see if you think there should be a little difference in offerings, that's pretty specific in the reserve funds for the preserve restaurant versus the MountainView Bar and Grill.
Well, my short answer is no. I don't think there's any part of SaddleBrooke that should be treated. I agree with Campbell on this. That should be treated differently than any other part. Supposedly it's all one community. I know that needs are probably somewhat different, but somehow you have to come to a common ground where you satisfy as many people as possible. Some people aren't going to be satisfied, but that's true of everything that happens here. So anyway, no, I don't think things should be separated based on where you live.
Next question. Going once. Going twice. Okay. First of all, I want to thank both Terry and Campbell for joining us this morning. I want to thank all the residents who took some time out of their busy schedules to join us as well. A reminder that starting tonight at midnight, the ballots will be going out for you to vote, and the vote will run until Thursday, July 21st at noon. And if you have problems voting, there will be paper ballots available in the admin office. So with that, again, best of luck to both Terry and Campbell. And again, thanks everybody for coming.